Hello and welcome everyone to Impel's 2023 Kickoff Webinar. My name is Mary Weigel and I'm the Communications and Outreach Administrator with Impel. As everyone settles in and we prepare to begin the webinar, I'd like to go over the agenda for our event today. To begin, we'll kick off our webinar with a welcome, followed by an overview of Berkeley Lab. We'll then dive into the Impel program, discussing both the new elements coming to Impel this year, as well as our pitch workshops and business seminars. Next, we'll have a presentation from our partner incubator, Greentown Labs, followed by a panel with some of our Impel mentors. Then we'll be getting to meet some of our 2022 cohort during our Impel Innovator Alumni Panel, which will be followed by the official launch of Impel's 2023 season. We will then conclude our webinar today with a Q&A session, followed by an optional networking session. Thank you for joining us for this exciting start to our new program year. To get us started, I'll now hand it off to Reshma Singh, a Senior Advisor at the U.S. Department of Energy's Building Technologies Office and Impel's Program Director.
Thank you, Mary, and I want to welcome everybody to the Impel Kickoff. Very exciting, and to start us off, I would like to invite Nicholas Ryan. He is an ORISE Fellow and oversees the Tech to Market portfolio at the Building Technologies Office for the U.S. Department of Energy. Please take it over, Nick. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Reshma. Am I coming through right? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming to today's session. Really excited for this year. We've put a lot of work into improving the program. It was already a very successful and innovative program, so I'm really looking forward to this year. So I'm going to provide a brief overview of the Building Technologies Office and kind of how we view tech to market, commercialization, and kind of where Impel is trying to make its biggest impact. So I think we can go to the next slide, Mary. So it's always good to kind of remind ourselves about the importance and the opportunity that the building space really has. You know, from an energy efficiency and carbon reduction standpoint, which is obviously a big priority, the priority for the Department of Energy, buildings plays a huge role in decarbonizing, you know, really every aspect of our lives. To that end, you know, there is a multitude of markets that are developing and are soon to be developed, kind of addressing all these different technology areas we see listed in the graphic. You know, most importantly, we want to make sure that those advancements are going to the communities that need them the most, and they are resilient and prepared for the future. Go to the next slide, Mary. Oh, one more back. Great. So the office is divided into three areas. The Emerging Technologies Program really develops that early R&D and the transition process into our commercial and residential integration programs, and those really work on the ground to, again, get those technologies into end users, building owner operators, and pretty much everyone, all of our stakeholders. You know, we really try to come together and address, you know, both the technical and non-technical barriers that inhibit these technologies from becoming kind of ubiquitous in the market. You know, some of our initiatives that focus on this are grid interactive, you know, buildings connecting to the grid, advanced building construction, how we're building more efficiently and evolving with modern practices. And, you know, all these, again, really go to address the systemic barriers that are holding back that scaled adoption. Go to the next slide. So this is a graphic of how the Building Technologies Office really views the commercialization process. And, you know, we can go to the next slide, Mary. I'll focus on this part where, you know, we really view the direct role of the office at large, and specifically the Impel program, to really get over this major commercialization value of death. Obviously, it is the largest one and kind of has the most obstacles to it. Mary, if you want to go to the next slide, where we really see Impel playing such a big role is, you know, starting from, you know, the early side of the commercialization value of death, spanning that, and then helping our innovators cover the rest of the distance all the way to, you know, the market transformation we're hoping to make. And Impel is somewhere in the middle there, kind of organizing all those different complicated parts. Go to the next slide. We have a pipeline that we like to think it's called jump to leap. That's kind of the little saying we have for it. And we have innovation training programs at every step of a researcher's journey. Jump into STEM focuses on early development and really kind of gaining interest into the building sciences. Impel obviously is this programs where we take those ideas, really transform them into thriving startups, and then LEAP and other grant programs and fellowship programs we have really foster those and provide the resources and dedicated financial commitment to really spur those things into something autonomous and can continue on. Excuse me. Go to the next slide, please. So, obviously the labyrinth of that is the federal government can be overwhelming at times, but I really like to view it as, again, a kind of cornucopia of opportunities and different ways you can chart your course through all these different opportunities. Obviously there are many inputs, Impel being one of them. And again, this kind of just goes along the fact that BTO offers a network of technical, financial, non-technical resources to help flourish innovative ideas into functioning companies. Let me go to the next slide. And our ultimate translation is to get you. Let me go back one, Mary, real quickly. Thank you. Is to transition you into the private partners that can really give you the support you need to scale. After you got to the point where you're set up and your feet underneath you, how do you really take off? And we're really trying to figure out that handoff here at Impel. Go to the last slide. So again, I think the top things I want to call out for is, the network access you have to not just our entrepreneurs, but many entrepreneurs within the DOE community, and this hands-on coaching and mentorship, really to focus in on those skills of pitching and model development, and then finally those connection points to those who can help you continue on in your commercialization pathway. So to get more on the Berkeley Lab and the facility that hosts Impel, I'm going to pass it on to Mary Ann.
Nick, thanks so much for that overview of BTO and Impel. And I really appreciate the opportunity, Reshma, to give you this overview today. Go ahead to the next slide. So there's 17 national labs, and there's several in California, and we're all there on the West Coast there at Berkeley Lab, right next to UC Berkeley. Go ahead to the next slide. Lawrence Berkeley Lab has a $1 billion budget with over 4,000 scientists from around the country. So we really appreciate the U.S. Department of Energy's leadership and partnership with us. We work in physics, computer science, energy storage, earth science, biology, and materials. And I'm going to be speaking mostly about the energy technologies area. Go ahead to the next slide. So ETA is very interested in making sure we're thinking about science and systems. We are very interested in supporting a clean energy economy for an affordable, sustainable, and clean carbon-free energy system. Go ahead to the next slide. This is an example of some of the key attributes of our research over the last few decades. The first Earth Day was in 1970. We had Art Rosenfeld start the program after the oil embargo, and he was a physicist who pivoted from high energy physics and particle physics to energy efficiency. So he saw that we could improve our national security by investing in energy efficiency and making our buildings more efficient. We've been working on glass, on urban heat islands and cool roofs, and modeling. I'll talk a little about Flex Lab, and we have had a cyclotron road, which I'll talk about a little more in a moment. But today we're talking about Impel, and we're interested in creating the vision for technologies as well as supporting the economy in the adoption and business structures around new technologies. Go ahead to the next slide. The energy technologies area, as I mentioned, was started by the building scientist named Art Rosenfeld. There's a picture of him actually with a lamp. We were working on technologies such as fluorescent lighting, energy efficient windows and simulation. We pivoted towards working on appliance standards, and appliance standards are one of the most impactful things that the federal government does in the Department of Energy, and it saves consumers hundreds of dollars on the utility bills every year. And we've made impressive improvements in refrigerators and other kinds of technologies, reducing energy use almost to 50% in many cases through requirements that make the most inefficient ones are not eligible to be on the market, and pushing the envelope with energy efficient ones with the Energy Star program. And our team won the Nobel Prize on Climate Change in 2007, working with Al Gore. Go ahead to the next slide. This is a broad look at the different kinds of technologies that we cover in the energy technologies area, working with the grid, transportation, air conditioning, fuel cells, water energy nexus, very broad set of portfolios touching supply as well as demand. Go ahead to the next slide. This is a little glimpse of how we're structured. I'm the division director of the Building Technology Urban Systems. We do work on energy analysis and environmental impacts, energy storage and distributed resources. I'll talk about Cyclotron Road in a moment. We have an energy storage center, and Robbie Prosher is listed here as the associate lab director. He's actually starting next week at Bloom Energy, so he'll be stepping down as our ALD. And we wish him all the best with a very exciting company on fuel cells. Go ahead to the next slide. When we think about energy technologies, we think about the aggressive agenda that we need to mitigate the greenhouse gases that are projected in the future unless we can really turn down that curve and start to even explore negative emissions and absorbing carbon. So we have a big challenge ahead of us to try to reduce global warming and climate change. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So one of the key things we do is think about the broad portfolio of research from materials and chemistries and device science to system science, also understanding the environmental impact of what we do and working to scale deployment and startups and work on techno-economic and policy analysis to support the government role of both local, state, and national policies. So this is an important triangle, diamond shape as we think about how to enable impact. Go ahead to the next slide. Cyclotron Road has had over 1,000 applicants and fellows. That is a program where researchers come to the lab and they get support in laboratory development to move the concept to the market. So these Cyclotron Road fellows are top innovators that are able to come to the lab and get funding and work in research labs to facilitate new technologies into the market. Go ahead to the next slide. I want to mention two programs. One is CalSeed. That's an entrepreneurship program. We work with the state of California, working on breakthrough technology analysis, patents, and testing resources. The national labs and the universities can be partners for the entrepreneurs that are trying to test technology in research labs. Go ahead to the next slide. We also are developing our own testing infrastructure here called Flex Lab. This is very unique, and it is uniquely oriented towards helping reduce the risk of bringing new technologies into the building space. We have side-by-side test beds where we can test these technologies in a system. We can test new HVAC systems, new floor systems, new lighting and windows, and test them in a real-world commercial building test bed to integrate the controls, the thermal systems, the visual systems, and the solar and photovoltaics and storage systems. So we have a broad set of capabilities here to help facilitate testing new technologies and allowing them to come into the building space. Go ahead to the next slide. This is a little more detail on what's in Flex Grid. That's the grid part of the emulators and batteries and PVs that we have in the Flex Lab space. And that allows us to use the distributed energy resources for integrating end-use loads with PV and storage. Go ahead to the next slide. Just a couple quick examples here. We're working with underserved communities to make sure that the technologies that we're developing can help improve the comfort of the homes during extreme heat. We're looking at things like the thin triple window and putting it in homes that are going to benefit not only from using these windows in really cold climates, but using them in hot climates to improve health and reduce energy use. And then on the right is another picture from Flex Lab where we're looking at advanced prefabricated walls and trying to understand how to integrate those into accelerating window retrofits and new windows for advanced building construction. Go ahead to the next slide. And that is the end of my slides. I am turning it over to Reshma Singh, who's here in the room with me. Reshma, back to you.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for that fantastic overview. I'm going to walk you through the Impel story around what's coming next, because we need to impel our building innovation. So Impel really stands for Incubating Market-Propelled Entrepreneurship at the Labs and Beyond. This is an innovation engine for early-stage technologies for researchers, scientists, professionals, and entrepreneurs to help impel your building and energy innovations to climate impact. This is a program which is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy's Building Technologies Office and is implemented at Berkeley Lab. So this is the reason that Impel exists is because it's sort of a personal journey, and I hope to be able to share this. So when I was at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, we actually developed a couple of clean tech patents and found that the pathway towards commercialization was not that easy. So this was a personal journey around which I was wondering how to take, and I'm sure there were other scientists out there across the national labs and across academic institutions in the country, how could we help take the scientists' ideas into commercialization? And that's how Impel was actually founded in 2020. So what we do through Impel is we make sure that the technologies coming through the Impel funnel are technically vetted. We make it highly accessible to innovators from all backgrounds and regions, given the fact that buildings are so culturally and regionally diverse. We also provide extensive networking opportunities in the building technology space, and all the teams that come through the Impel program gain coaching, mentoring, and training for both business and carbon impact, as well as access to powerful public and private sector pipelines for demonstrations and funding. So there's three programmatic elements. First of all, in order to address a barrier of fragmented public and private sector that we have in the building technology space, we're really looking to foster an innovator community. So we want to develop a very passionate tribe of innovators who are focused on buildings and energy technologies. Number two, to address the lack of entrepreneurial mindset and skill set, especially on the side of researchers and academics, we really are coaching and mentoring for both business and carbon implications. This is through our world-class Impel coaches and mentors, as well as our curated resource toolkits. And finally, in order to address the barrier of low exposure to investors and partners, we're helping with the market pull by providing access to pipeline opportunities through both the federal and state government, as well as with our investor connections. So let's talk about the community first. This is our Impel team. You met some of us here. We also have a tech to market experts who act as our coaches and commercialization partners, as well as Greentown Labs, who is our incubation partner. In the past 3 years, we've seen about 80 small businesses and entrepreneurs go through the program, as well as researchers and scientists from about over 20 universities and national labs. So talking about the second aspect, which is the program offerings, we provide our innovator cohorts 3 aspects of training. The first is our coaches work with each and every individual through the course of the pitch workshop to provide guidance on how to conduct better pitching and better communications of their really hard and important ideas. We also provide carbon tools training, which is provide our innovators to carbon tools demonstration, which is done by researchers and scientists, in order to introduce them to the idea of using carbon projections for their technologies. And finally, in terms of business seminars and mentoring, we down select from the Impel workshops into half of the cohort, which gets more personalized coaching to develop initial business plans and customized strategies to address their go-to-market and product-to-market fit. In terms of our coaches, I just wanted to introduce 4 of our coaches to you. They're all innovation experts and skilled entrepreneurs. Christina Elwood has been the chief marketing officer of several startups, so she is really amazing at teaching pitching. Whitney Hischier, who you'll hear from today, comes to us from Berkeley Haas School of Business and also is a coach on the NSF I-Core program. JJ Singh is the president of Stanford Angels and Entrepreneurs and is a multiple serial entrepreneur. And Chanshan Lee is at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and she's our innovation commercialization expert. Also, very importantly, we have access provided to mentors. So we have mentors that come from 4 different categories. We have investors ranging from large banks such as SoftBank to climate tech ventures, as well as corporate ventures. We also have entrepreneurs who've done it before who can help our innovators go through the journey of entrepreneurship. We also have access to mentors from the policy and demonstration side of things, from the Department of Defense, from the National Association of State Energy Officials, as well as the GSA, the General Services Administration. And then we also provide access to subject matter experts from across the national lab system. So our mentors are really sort of the cornerstone of all the business model coaching that the innovators receive through the Impel program. And finally, a quick view of the collaboration network. You can see scientists, policy demonstration experts, investment specialists, and entrepreneurs, and the kind of organizations that they represent. Finally, the pipeline. So Impel provides streamlined access to public sector and private sector pipelines. On the public sector side, this is through a streamlined access to funding. This could be through grants, through awards, through commercialization funds that the federal government offers, also through the validation aspects. For example, through exposure to national lab IP, through the lab embedded entrepreneurship programs, as well as pilots and demonstration opportunities through our federal partners. And then finally, the Advanced Manufacturing Office Network also has a plethora of resources and grants available for manufacturing. On the private sector pipeline side, we provide really access to networks, demonstration partners, and funding through our collaboration with Greentown Labs as well as Clean Tech Future. So Impel has partnered with Greentown Labs, Clean Tech Future, and we have had pitch events just in June and July of this year. And we want to continue to engage with the private sector, so the dovetailing of the public and private sectors in order to take the technologies to market can be more effective and more impactful. A quick note about some of the success stories, and I invite you to our website, impel.lbl.gov. But suffice it to say that over the 3 years of Impel being in existence, we have seen several successes, and we are very proud of our innovators. They've been winning pilots and partnerships, grants, fellowships, and funding, and we will hear from 3 of our innovators who've been very successful today. We do encourage early stage innovators. So unlike other private sector incubators and accelerators who focus more on late stage, we help the early stage innovators get to the next stage. And because buildings are so diverse, we also encourage a lot of regional diversity. In addition, we are also focusing on ethnic and gender diversity. Over half of innovators are female or people of color. So in a nutshell, the metrics are looking good, and we want to make sure that we increase access, training, coaching, and resources for Impel innovators. They're doing tremendously well, but we want to make sure that they go from pillar to post and get many more successes. So at this point, I would hand this off to our expert coach, one of them, Whitney Hischier. She is a Haas Business School lecturer, and she's also a national instructor for NSF I-Corps. We would love to hear from you, Whitney, about your experience with Impel. You've been with the program for 2 years, so please do share your experience with us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Reshma, and welcome everyone. So I've had the pleasure of working with a variety of teams going through the Impel program. The specific area that I have helped coach them on is an intensive one-day pitch coaching seminar. And what that is essentially their story, getting that into very concise 3 to 4 minute pitches that clearly state the problem, the solution, and why whoever is hearing it should care in lay people terms. Most of the people we work with going through this program have some kind of deep scientific or technical background, but many times they need to convey their idea to a policymaker, to the head of a city. And those people need to understand this in very, very practical terms. So we work on crystallizing what is that product market fit, value proposition meets specific customer segment, and telling it in a compelling way. And it's really been interesting for me because every time I work with these teams, I learn a lot, and you can see the direct relevance. And in fact, in the last group, we actually had someone who was taking essentially recycling trash, plastic trash, and turning it into modular building materials for the Caribbean, which has issues with not enough place for landfill, as well as very expensive building material costs because most things have to be imported and tend to be fairly flimsy, which, you know, as we sit here right now, that region has been just decimated with hurricanes going through. So you can see the immediate relevance. And then, you know, just as previously touched on by Marianne and Nick, we look at a lot of things to reduce energy usage, specifically in buildings, as well as more sort of city infrastructure build out. So it's been great. The teams are incredibly bright. They are right at the point of needing to crystallize their story. So Impel has developed a really good process in terms of vetting the technology. So we know we're not dealing with airware, helping them get to a very specific pitch and then lining them up with places to actually give that. And through this ecosystem that we are part of, it gives the entrepreneurs a path not just to get the pitch ready, but then also be an environment with ongoing support as they build out their business plans and work on things like investor relationships and engagement. And so with that, I'll hand over to Jesse Roth with Greentown Labs, which is a key partner working with us as part of the Impel program. So Jesse, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Whitney, and thanks to the entire Impel team for putting on today's webinar. It's definitely been exciting to see this program continue to grow. So as Whitney mentioned, I'm a partnerships manager at Greentown Labs, which is the largest climate tech incubator in North America. And I'll share a bit more about our work with you all on the next slide. So Greentown Labs currently has 2 incubator locations. One is in Somerville, just outside of Boston, and the second is in Houston, Texas. Across these 2 locations, we currently incubate over 200 climate tech startups. And we do this by providing them with physical office and lab spaces, as well as software and hardware resources. Our members tend to be with us for about 3 years between their seed and Series A rounds. And of the 450 startups that we've incubated throughout our time as a business, we have an 88% startup survival rate. So this means they're either still in business or were acquired. I don't think I'll bore you with the rest of the numbers on this slide. So let's move on to the next one, and I'll talk a bit more about partnerships. So I find this slide to be especially helpful when I'm explaining Greentown's involvement in the larger climate tech ecosystem, specifically how it relates to earlier stage programs like Impel, as well as corporate partnerships. So to summarize the information here a bit, the Greentown team often sits as judges and mentors for early stage contests and accelerator programs. And this is done in order to stay informed of potential companies that could benefit from our community later on. So once the startups have completed these programs, Greentown then serves as sort of this next step. They come here looking to, secure their initial pilots or post-seed investments or that first customer. And ideally, startups are here to reach that commercialization stage, avoiding the initial valley of death that Nick had mentioned earlier. And also, as climate tech tends to be business to business and hardware oriented, at least what we see in our community, partnerships are obviously incredibly essential for startups to scale and become successful. Next slide, please. So Greentown works with corporate partners across many industries in order to find different commercialization pathways for our startups. Obviously, decarbonizing our economy is going to take buy-in from all of the key GHG emitting sectors. You'll see a lot of them represented up here. The majority of my work at Greentown revolves around understanding these climate goals of these massive corporations and the technology of our startup members, and then trying to identify potential collaborations between the two. We're really here to bridge the gap between the slower moving corporations and the rapidly developing startups. And all of this work is done to drive partnership outcomes that could be proof of concepts, pilots, CVC investments, acquisitions, and more. So with more of that corporate side of partnerships in mind, let's go on to the next slide and we can talk a bit more about our work with Impel to prepare high quality startups for partnerships. So there are a few main activities between Impel and the Greentown team to support our innovators. Reshma teased some of these earlier in the webinar, and I'm going to go a bit more in depth. But the main activity we do is a pitch event that's geared towards building sector corporates, investors, and more. And we're excited in the coming year to fully integrate this with one of Greentown's existing sector pitch day series, making for a larger collaborative event that includes both Greentown members and Impel innovators. So these pitching innovators then go on to receive access to Greentown curriculum, learning opportunities, and our internal communication platforms for a limited time. And this has proven to be a successful avenue to support innovators in making the step from the Impel program into the Greentown community. And then I have just a couple quick examples of this on the next slide. So on the left, you'll see Community Energy Labs. They were granted access to the Greentown resources after pitching in last year's Impel Greentown pitch program. And after this, they became an immediate contributor into the community and applied for membership and went on to become a member. They also recently closed a $1 million pre-seed raise. The second example on the right is a company called Inventwood. And following their completion of the 2021 Impel program, they were accepted to the Healthy Buildings Challenge with Saint-Gobain, part of Greentown's internal accelerator, and then went on to become a member. So that's really what I have today. I hope this leaves you all with a better understanding of the work of Impel and Greentown together, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions in the future. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Stacy Curry, Program Manager at Impel, to introduce the mentor panel.
Thank you, Jesse, for that. Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Curry, and I'm a program manager at Berkeley Lab. I've been working on the Impel program for the past couple months, and I'm excited to help kick off the FY23 program year. We have a few of our mentors here today that will share their interest and expertise in helping our innovators. I'd like to invite Marco, Monica, and Frank to turn on your videos for our mentor panel. And while they're doing that, I'll go ahead and start with the introductions. Marco is joining us from Berkeley Lab. He is a research scientist here, where he conducts research in the area of advanced controls, data-driven modeling, and data analytics applied to buildings. He leads a team of researchers working on optimization for building operations and building-to-grid interaction. Monica Roy is joining us from Connecticut. She's a product lifecycle manager and strategic marketing specialist with over 28 years of experience across multiple industries. In her current role at Carrier, Monica applies her experience within an innovation and technology team in central engineering, focused on both open innovation and innovation partnerships. And Frank Yang is joining us from the East Coast. He's a partner at ADL Ventures and the founder and CEO of Leactris, an advanced insulation material startup. Frank leads all of ADL's DOE-related activities, including its Advanced Building Construction National Collaborative and American-Made Solar Prize teams. With that, I'll start with a question to Marco, one of our technical experts. Marco, how do you see national labs supporting entrepreneurship cycles?
I think the national labs have a big role to play because they typically deal and develop and deploy and test technologies that they are sort of cutting edge. And my experience this year, which was my first year with Impel partners and the people applying to the program, was that we gave them feedback right away on their ideas on what was really cutting edge, what was new, and the experience was like interactive. So we started a conversation, we brought it offline, we had multiple conversation with entrepreneurs, and they could get oriented in what's the big picture about this technology being developed by other people, other labs, universities, and where their product and their idea is positioned within kind of this big universe. And also how they can apply to funding from public agencies and how their work relates to many other things that are happening. So I think that's a big value, which is beyond what they can get from funding outside of sort of public funding and accelerators.
Perfect. Thanks, Marco. So it sounds like the network here is really helpful in supporting our entrepreneurs. And now we'll go to Monica. Monica, how are you interested in supporting Impel innovators, and what could you potentially help de-risk?
So I have a pretty deep background in product and strategic marketing. So where I could be helpful to new entrepreneurs or even serial entrepreneurs is helping to assess, their actual market opportunity and the product fit to market. So sometimes that can seem really obvious, and sometimes there's a lot of nuances to it. A product that could seem, to have great opportunities might end up being niche, or, you could end up having something that's a little more on the Me Too side that needs to be differentiated well, going to market in order to be successful and gain traction with intended customers. Along with that is the messaging and how the product or service is presented. So, those are the things that I can all help with. And with regard to de-risking, obviously, the quick wins are important when you're a startup. So making sure that you're identifying some low-hanging fruit, sales and traction with minimal effort, as opposed to maybe some of those bigger ones that could drag down a startup and maybe take up some of your resources. So making sure that you've got a good plan to not just go to market, but to also start out as a business and be successful and grow.
Perfect. Thanks, Monica. Thank you for all of your marketing expertise that you bring to the table. And Frank, can you tell us, how can we drive buildings and building edge technologies to more investments and scale? And how could you help with that?
Thanks, Stacy. That's a great question. And just as a little bit of background, ADL is a venture consulting firm, so we support both DOE as well as corporate clients in business model innovation and new venture creation. So we've run corporate challenges and prizes that have helped fund companies, and we're also working to launch several new ventures in the industry. And I'd certainly share both from recent experience in this program and as just general experience. If we're building commercialization assistance for those that are targeting the Impel program, really want to focus on what matters in terms of making that building technology startup viable for corporate and financial investors. So I think Monica alluded to product market fit. I think that's probably the most fundamental concept. It's really essential to define the pain point. Find a customer that's going to validate that early on at an early stage. That could even just be a support letter or something like a conditional purchase order. So certainly a couple of companies from last year, like Showerstream and Inventwood, that's one capacity in which we participated with folks like that. But in any event, important to boil down these huge commodity markets, in the really clear and high value niches. The other thing, which is very closely tied into ADL's work for DOE, is targeting that significant cost and performance improvement over existing technology. We're obviously focused on advanced building construction. In most cases, that's both industrialized and low carbon. I think if you can't beat the existing technologies by at least 20 to 30%, and then probably 50% in the long run with your longer term roadmap, it's just going to be really hard to get investor and partner traction, because these are capital intensive technologies with long acceptance times. And I'd certainly say that I was a mentor for specifically the decarbonized track last year with ADL's work as part of the ABC collaborative for DOE. That's a big part of what we look at. But I'd also add that low carbon is only a necessary, but certainly on its own, it's an insufficient condition for success. From a commercial standpoint, the numbers still need to pencil out. And then I think the third thing, which the network is here for, is in terms of organic support. It's just that preparation and outreach. I think funding can really rely on luck sometimes, and it can be somewhat opportunistic, but you need to put yourself in the opportunity to get lucky. And I think leveraging programs like Impel, utilizing the mentors to get intros, as well as finding teaming partners and vendors and other supply chain partners, through this work, that's critical as well for building your business. And I think for those of you that don't know, ADL, as part of its ABC work with RMI, has built a stakeholder database of over 600 players in advanced building construction. So I think in addition to mentoring resources here, we welcome your outreach. And I'd certainly close by saying this is exciting as a time as I've seen in the building technology sector. And so we're really looking forward to supporting all of you through both my mentoring engagement here, as well as the other work we do both with corporates and government agencies. So thanks a lot for the opportunity to join.
Thanks, Frank. So in the few minutes we have remaining, I'd like to ask you all maybe to give just 1 minute to briefly tell us, you talked a little bit about your experience with Impel, but if you could tell us, anything you may not have told us about your experience with Impel last year, and also just more importantly, what would you like to see going forward?
Well, I'll start. I think my experience was very positive, and the engagement with entrepreneurs and people that have ideas, and they're very passionate about their ideas. And sometimes you have to say, oh, your idea was actually not particularly new, or sometimes you have to tell them, this is actually an awesome idea, and see how they react and how they take it in, and then how they kind of change their pitch. And that was very, very engaging to me, and also probably helpful to them too.
Yeah, I would agree that the experience last year was very good. Lots of interesting companies at different stages, everything from companies that have already been through Greentown, for example, to inventors with a concept. So the breadth, I think, was really interesting. And seeing how these inventors and founders were thinking about providing solutions in the building space. So one word, I guess, for everybody this year would be try to focus on what's right sized for you and to enter the market. Because I think last year some companies and founders were thinking about taking some very, very big complex bites. And making sure that again, you kind of get to a offering that can gain traction and provide value, and validating that before you just dive in with something that can be a little too much to chew at one point in time. So it was great to be able to see how people were thinking, and then making sure that they were taking some very intelligent steps forward on development and entering the market.
Thanks, Monica.
Yeah, so I have two quick takeaways. One for the people like myself that have maybe done this before in some capacity, that I think never assume that you've done it too many times or have too much experience to get value out of this. I think the coaches are really phenomenal. I've learned a lot from being a mentor and watching those sessions in terms of little refinements to my own content development and presentation style. So I think the door is really open for everybody, no matter how many times you've done this before. And then sort of on the other end, in terms of less experienced or aspiring entrepreneurs that may be considering it, I would just encourage you to be ambitious and be broad in terms of like thinking about the upside of joining this opportunity. Because I think it's not only is it unique to get this type of support, you just never know what kind of doors it'll open. So I know that one of the companies we referred into this, AeroShield, they're an aerogel window company, and then through later interaction with ADL, they actually ended up winning some funding for a new application out of the solar prize with NREL as an example. So you just never really know, sort of once you get into this and you get into the ecosystem, what may come out of it. So again, I think you're ambitious and you're proactive and you utilize these resources. This can really be a great solution for anybody, regardless of your company size or experience level.
Great. Thank you. We really appreciate you all being mentors and coming here today and sharing your expertise and experience, and just your willingness to help our innovators advance to the next level. With that, I'll hand the floor over to my colleague Laura, who will kick off our Innovator Panel.
Great, thank you so much, Stacy. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Wong, and I'm a program manager at Berkeley Lab. And of the building tech projects that I support, one of my favorites is Impel because it provides a unique opportunity for our national lab-based team to. I'm going to unmute myself now. It gives a unique opportunity for our national lab-based team to preview emerging technologies in small businesses at a nascent stage and support them in their commercialization journey. So to share a glimpse of that interaction, I'd like to introduce today's panel of 3 impressive innovators who just went through the Impel program and are here to tell you what their experience with our program was like. First off is Grant Gunnison, who is the founder and CEO of Zero. And he grew up in a contracting business and is now an expert in residential construction and uses his engineering expertise to streamline decarbonizing retrofit processes for homeowners and contractors. We also have Hao Li, the founder of Multiplicity, and which is a program or platform that helps sustainable builders procure energy efficient building materials. And before Multiplicity, Hao worked as an architectural designer at a number of top firms. She's shared a lot of her achievements with us since joining Impel, and I look forward to hearing more about them in a moment. Our final panelist is Eduardo Sastre, who is the CEO and co-founder of Airstat. Airstat has this unique and interesting AI technology, which is blended with an understanding of buildings and people to anticipate and optimize settings for indoor air quality, equipment efficiency, and reducing energy consumption. So with that, I'd love to start this panel off with Grant. Grant, you went through Impel's workshops and also an accelerator program through one of our partners. Why don't you tell us a bit about the project that you brought to Impel and then your experience with the coaching and the accelerator?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've been really the beneficiary of lots of the programs the DOE funds, not just Impel, also some of the things at Greentown and now Westgate as well. And so has definitely been a pipeline and a stepping stone to a lot of fantastic opportunities that I've been able to take advantage of. And I think the workshops are great. Certainly intense days of really making you focus and think through messaging and whatnot, which is so required. You really have to think really hard around how you want to phrase that messaging and make sure that it's resonating with the customers that you're choosing to work with. Yeah, I thought it was great, super helpful, and the past 18 months have been really phenomenal for us as a business, and Impel and all these programs have played a massive part in that.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on your recent selection with the Westgate program over at NREL. I noticed when you mentioned how intense the workshops were that the other 2 innovators here also shook their head vigorously. So I'll go to how, you in addition to the workshops, you went through Impel's business seminars and also the building tech pitch day through our partnership with Greentown Labs. Could you tell us a bit about how Impel helped you prepare for that pitch day?
Yeah, for sure. So first I have to agree with Grant that the workshops before we've had was very intensive, and it really helped us with the messaging and how we pitch and how we put together the storyline for different audiences, including investors or customers. And I especially think the pitch day at Greentown Labs was great because it was my first time pitching in real person, facing real audiences in the room. So I was very nervous in the beginning, but the preparation I've had through the program, including reviewing our deck, reviewing our pitch processes, was really helpful. And then that pitch actually went very successful. And then a few months later, I had another opportunity to speak in a conference with a much broader audience, which was like 200 people. And I think the previous experience at Greentown Labs really helped me ease my mentality. And so I was like really well prepared and was very calm and very, the pitch ended up being very successful.
That's great to hear. Could you let us know, I think I understand that you were connected with a few investors after that event too. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we had conversations with corporate venture arm as well as the innovation arm of the corporation. The conversation was very valuable. We had multiple conversations exploring potential opportunities. And I think although right afterwards, nothing came out on papers, but it's still a very valuable conversation. And I believe in the near future, we will be able to form actual partnerships with them.
Great, thanks for telling us about that. That's very exciting. Last, I'd love to talk to Eduardo. Eduardo, it's so great to see you again. I know we were just in contact very recently. Impel and Aerostat just went through an intense round of preparation for the Clean Tech Futures Pitch Day, which happened just last month. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience and also any outcomes from that event?
Yeah, I have to say thank you to everyone in Impel. It's like has been an amazing experience, especially in March when we spent like 3 or 4 days, or in February, 3 or 4 days doing preparation. That was crazy, super tired. We didn't want to do it more, but you know, the mentors were amazing, pushing us to our limits. And then in preparation for the Impel Clean Tech Future was you know, I was amazed with the mentors, like taking their time, you know, free time on Saturday to meet with me to help me to improve my pitching for the event on Wednesday, and then meeting again on Wednesday, on Tuesday, on Monday, and then on Tuesday. So it has been amazing meeting everyone. And the outcomes from the presentation is that we have been able to talk 3 or 4 investors from EA and others. And hopefully we're going to get the investment that we need to keep growing and make indoor air quality available for everyone.
Great, please keep us posted, all 3 of you, on as you continue your journeys. We would love to hear it, and we love hearing the success stories that emerge from your journey after Impel. One more question for all of you as we wrap up here. As we bring in a new cohort for Impel, could you, I mean, maybe one sentence or just a few lines each, you know, who do you think could benefit from this program in the future?
Well, I think the program largely wants to accept people from all walks of life. If you have an idea that you want to work really hard on or are willing to hustle, you know, Impel is here to help. So if you want to practice your pitches, you know, they'll put a lot of support around you to, you know, take you as far as you want to go.
So in my day-to-day work, I actually meet a lot of innovators who are trying to create new kinds of building products or materials that can help improve the building's energy efficiency. I think all of those people who are trying to create new types of products, Impel Plus is a great opportunity. And I think from a previous conversation that the Berkeley Lab shared, the ability to also test the products at Flex Lab would be also a very valuable opportunity for the Impel Plus innovators in the future.
Yeah, I think everyone benefits from even you. Our company is in Greentown, and we have been in other accelerators. I think it's like the mentors and the care that we have received has been amazing, and in the way that everyone at Impel has holding our hands and trying to make us successful has been an amazing experience. So I think everyone will benefit for this.
Great, thank you to all 3 of you so much for your time and and participating with us and growing with us in the past year. We're about at time right now, so I would like to hand this off now for the next segment to Reshma Singh, who's going to go into the launch of the next season.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, mentors. Thank you, innovators, for being part of the entrepreneurial journey with us at Impel. So it's very exciting to officially launch the Impel 2023 season. I would like to tell you in very short, in a couple of slides, what the season is going to entail. So first of all, we'll have 3 pitch coaching workshop tracks: decarbonize, digitalize, and democratize. So decarbonize track is for individuals, innovators who are trying to radically reduce emissions to decarbonize the built environment. This could be embodied operational carbon. It could be circularity-based technologies, etc. The second track is digitalize, which is around those sensors, controls, data management systems, tools that help to optimize the building, the distributed energy resources, the grid, anything around the built environment, which is the buildings and building edge. So technologies that are using digital transformation as the underpinnings to take the built environment to the next level. And finally, the third D, which is democratize, the third track, which is around those technologies which will help to provide equitable wellness in a resilient living environment. So these could be technologies around health, air quality, pollution abatement, climate resilience, and also help with providing inclusive innovation through a large umbrella for anybody who wants to participate and be part of the climate solution. The second important thing is half of the innovators who go to the pitch training workshops along those 3 tracks will be down selected for the business seminar. So they will work with our coaches to go well beyond the pitch training. So this is a relatively new offering. This is where they'll hone into like proper decks, like an initial business plan framework, which is going to be through 3 half-day seminars to go through customer, problem, product, project, competition, product market fit, go-to-market strategy, pricing, revenue, organizational structure, etc. So the coaches will really put you to the grind to develop your ideas into the business aspect of it. The third new or newish aspect that we started this year is carbon tools training. So here we bring in experts from the national labs, from the Department of Energy, and some of the leading nonprofits in this area, the Carbon Leadership Forum, to walk our innovators through how to use open source tools that are available to you to project the carbon impact of your technology. So we help the innovators to go through demonstrations of these software tools like Scout and Greet and E3 so that the innovators are able to project, is the technology really hitting the carbon targets that they're expecting to? So we will walk you through assumptions and how to validate the scientific aspect of your technologies. And finally, the fourth new aspect that we're going to launch this year is the reverse partner pitch. At the BTO's, the Building Technology Office's peer review, which happens annually, we're going to start a new segment, which is called a reverse partner pitch. We will have selected public grant officers as well as private sector incubators and investors offer insights into what they're looking for when they're doing investment. And national labs will also present the licensable IP related to buildings and energy. So all cohorts of Impel innovators will be invited to attend, and this will happen in summer of 2023. So those are the 4 main elements of Impel coming up. So in a nutshell, the timeline looks like this. In fall, we will have the innovator applications. The deadline is Tuesday, November 15th. Please make sure to apply before that. By the end of November, we will send out the selections, and in December, January, and February, we will have our 3 pitch coaching workshops on decarbonize, democratize, and digitalize. In spring of 2023, we will have the 3 elements, the business seminars, which is down selection of candidates into business coaching, the mentor panels, and the reverse pitch event. And finally, in the summer of 2023, we will have 2 important pitch days, one with the Department of Energy's Impel National Showcase, and the second is the Greentown Labs Building Tech Pitch Day. So apply. Applications are open until November 15th. Please visit us at our website, impel.lbl.gov, or on LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out to our team at impel@lbl.gov. Thank you very much for attending. We will take Q&A, and we have the line open for another 15 minutes to do actual networking as well as do Q&A after this. So thank you very much. We hope to hear from you. Reach out to us at impel@lbl.gov or visit us at our website. Thank you very much for joining today.
Reshma, I can read off some questions that have come through the Q&A. The first question came up was, what is the difference or relationship between Impel and the I-Core program?
That's an excellent question. Both the I-Core program and Impel are Department of Energy funded programs. I-Core focuses only on researchers and scientists that come from national labs. So it provides I-Core, it provides training on customer discovery. So most of the I-Core programming is around finding out who the potential customer is for your technology. And are you targeting the right person? Are you understanding the pain points? And then they ended there. Unlike that, Impel actually has a larger set of individuals that we accept into the program, not just researchers from national labs, but also from academia, also entrepreneurs at large, professionals, all sorts of people who are interested in the building space. And we also provide a whole stable of mentors, as you saw, met some of them today, as well as the pipeline opportunities to pitch at our partner events. So it's sort of both an intake differentiation in terms of the types of audiences we are serving, as well as an outtake differentiation in terms of where do the innovators go and do they have a stage to then take the technologies and pitch it to investors and demonstration partners.
Great, thank you. There's a lot of questions that are coming in right now. The next one was, are Impel innovators always individuals who need to build out a business plan? Or is there any fit for early stage startups that have similar tech to market objectives but are more established?
That's a great question. We do try to encourage earlier stage individuals who don't even have a business plan. But because of the way our program is structured, we provide the pitch training, which is sort of the opening of the funnel. That's the first part of the funnel. And then when we down select, it's really for individuals who are able to take more opportunities through the business model training, as well as the opportunities for the pitch and demonstration events. So I think there's a big spectrum out here. We will certainly take later stage startups, but we also want to encourage earlier stage individuals to make sure that we level up the playing field and have equitable entrepreneurship and inclusive innovation.
The next question is, it seems like only an individual applies. Will other members of an Innovators founding team be able to attend workshops or access mentorship and coaching resources?
That's also a good question. So we allow individuals to apply because we like to bring in and encourage earlier stage folks who might not even have a founding partner. But absolutely, if you have a founding partner, we will enable up to 2 partners to attend and take advantage of the services.
Great. Some questions about the application process. So first, are non-US applicants allowed to apply?
So you do not have to be a US citizen. However, you need to have US residency in order to apply.
And how many applicants are chosen to participate per cohort? So with the pitch workshop phase compared to the number of applications received?
Right. So we unfortunately have to do a trade-off and selection of applications. We get many more than we can actually take every year. In order to make our initial workshops with the 3 tracks effective, we try to limit the participants from 12 to 15 per track. So you could imagine something up to 45 participants every year for that particular cohort.
A question about applying for a second time, somebody who's completed the program. Hi, Angela. Are they able to apply again?
Well, if you think you're going to get more benefit out of coming in again and really taking advantage of some of the newer aspects of the programming, please feel free to apply. Do remember it is a competitive process, and the criteria for application will be the same whether you're a returning Impel innovator or a first-time applicant.
Some logistical questions. I'll also post a link to our frequently asked questions on our, in chat. We do have that on our website, but just to answer these live, traveling to this location, or can it be done remotely?
So last 2 years, we've done it pretty much remotely. We had, I think, 3 workshops in person, which were great, but the advantage of doing a workshop in person, we cannot overstate that. I think the coaches are able to walk around the room, work with all the individuals one-on-one, and also have some of the opportunities for breakouts and networking. So we definitely do want to have it in person this year. But if you do want to apply and add a request, we would, of course, it depends on how the pandemic plays out, and we're not strictly post-pandemic as yet. So there is a chance we might be able to do hybrid, but we are definitely going towards in-person as being the only option.
Question about funding for the program. Is any of that provided to the innovators to attend, or for travel, or any of that?
So we do not have any travel stipend. However, our coaching, so the training that comes in 3 parts. First is the pitch coaching, which is a 1-day, 10-hour intense workshop. The coaches are world-class, and that programming you get for free. Secondly, the carbon tools training you also get for free. And thirdly, all of the access to the mentors and the business plan coaching also you get for free. So that really comes up to be a pretty substantial funding opportunity. However, there is no travel costs that are borne by the program.
Question about posting the contact information for the presenters today. Certainly our contact information will be shared for the Impel team. I think we'd have to check to see if the presenters will consent to have their information being shared as well. If you have a specific question though, or need a connection, then just let us know what the need is. Our email address is impel@lbl.gov. Let's see, somebody asked, and I'm sorry if this is going a little out of order, there are a lot of questions, good questions coming in. Asking, so someone said, is the Impel grant for organizations working with manufacturers on emerging technology market demand building?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. If that person could restate the question, I'm not sure that is quite clear. Related to the carbon measurement, though, of the companies that have come through, is that information available broadly? Is that being shared at all?
Right. So the Carbon Tools webinar is open to all the Impel innovators from the get-go. So everybody who's coming, all 45 who will come into the cohort as a first part of the funnel and get the pitch training will also get access to the Carbon Tools training. They will be down selected during the process when only 15 to 20 will be selected for the business seminar training. So the Carbon Tools training will be certainly provided to all 45 individuals.
And another question about access to facilities. Someone has asked, sounds like we'll have access to LBNL's Flex Lab. Do you have relationships with UC Berkeley that may help us access some of their research lab space? Reshma, could you clarify that relationship?
Right. So Rachel, great question. We do not provide access to Flex Lab through Impel. However, we can provide you with conversations with some of the individuals. We are at Berkeley Lab, and we can always provide you with some insight into what it is that you can do. However, we are launching another program called Cradle to Commerce, which will allow access to LBL's Flex Lab as well as with some of the other national labs. So please reach out to us at impel@lbl.gov and we can provide you more information.
Let's see, is the clarification maybe to the question earlier, is Impel limited to innovators or manufacturers only?
Or organizations working with manufacturers and building demand. Amrita, I think we would still need some clarification for that question. I think we're certainly looking at people who bring in projects, and these projects could be even policy advocacy. It could be materials and equipment products. It could be new business model innovation. So this may be an existing product where you want to do new business model innovation rather than creating a new product per se. And so for organizations working with manufacturers and building demand, that sounds to me like it's more of a maybe a nonprofit or a policy advocacy project. So feel free to apply and or reach out to us one-on-one, because I'd like to understand your question. I'm not sure I'm able to answer your question just based on the way it's been stated right now.
Okay, we have an interesting question. So what happens if I have an idea which would disrupt a significant number of technologies and innovators who have already come through the Impel channel?
Why don't you show it to us and we'll talk.
Let's see. So another question that came in, does Impel consider startups with energy efficiency and indoor air quality technologies to make buildings resilient to reduce the spread of COVID and other viruses?
Oh, absolutely. This is really, the energy efficiency really goes into the decarbonized track, and the indoor air quality technologies to make buildings resilient to reduce SARS-type viruses is certainly part of the democratized track, because that's about health and resilience and wellness. So the answer is yes. And I'm looking at the question right now. There's a second question. Does Impel consider startups providing software regarding fault detection and diagnostics? That's definitely part of the digitalized track, because FDD and energy information management systems and digital technologies per se will all go into the digitalized track. And finally, the third question you've asked, Robert, is will applicants benefit by having issued or pending US patents for their technologies? A benefit, I'm not sure what you mean by benefit, but if you have a patent, definitely put that into the application. That's certainly taken into consideration when we're selecting the innovators for every cohort. I hope that answers your question.
I think if there's any other questions, I know we're dipping into the networking session also, but if there's anything else, then please feel free to email us at impel@lbl.gov, and we'll try to answer them there. Otherwise, we'll also send out a link to the apply page, which you can share and broadly or in your networks or apply yourself. There's a question, how many people are on this call today? So I didn't quite monitor that. We had about 20 panelists and about 140 or so attendees.
At one point I got up to 160.
160.
Mm-hmm.
Great. We have a couple of minutes left. Any last questions for Nick Ryan at the DOE or for the Impel team? We'd love to take this. We're really fortunate that Nick is leading the charge for tech to market at the BTO. He has a great vision, and we want to help support that vision and make sure that the innovation ecosystem gets the encouragement, the support, the resources, and the heft that is needed to really take climate tech in the built environment. Our vision is really a net zero built environment that promotes equitable health and wellness for all. And we're very grateful for the DOE to be leading the charge around rapid innovation and deployment for building technologies.
Well, Reshma, I'll if I can just jump in. I appreciate everything you do for the Impel program and the whole team. But yeah, Impel is definitely very important to us. In many ways, it's really where the rubber meets the road, where we can have such a direct intervention and direct effect on this market and in this R&D space. It really is a culmination of so many elements that the office and pretty much all of ERE and divided amongst the each of the technology offices really focuses on is how do we help guide the market and support innovators that are trying to lead the way, and this is how we play our part in that. So it's a fundamental program for us. We learn a lot, we provide a lot to it. And, year over year, we're really happy as it grows and looking forward to this year and all the good things we'll learn and evolve on next year and really just kind of keep going that way. But yeah, this is really the early years of something I think is going to be an institutional program for quite some time. So again, Reshma, thank you so much. Thanks so much to the whole team. And yeah, hope all of you apply. We'd love to see everyone's application.
Thank you so much, Nick, for your vote of confidence. I want to also say thank you to all of our mentors who joined today, our entrepreneurs who joined, as well as our expert speakers and our coaches. So it takes a village, and Impel is a village which is here to support you, and we look forward to seeing your applications. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.